Let's go!
We had the conversation of the top 10 Capcom fighting games with Yo video games, and of course those are delegations, not just conversations, that we have to like argue our things that we want to be in there. And it went the way it did, you know, and certain games made it to a certain point. So all I want to do, as I ask myself, and I don't have to delegate my favorite games into those spots, where does my top 10 Capcom fighting game list actually go? I sort of wanted to investigate that, because as I think about it, I know maybe a few spots and where games would eventually lie, but where and how, I don't know how that full list would be. I really don't. So, with that being said, I wanted to make a top 10 Capcom fighting games list for me personally, and I'm just gonna start throwing up games because there's 10 games, there's already several games up here, you know? So let's just start getting some good boys in here. Is this Vampire Savior? That's Vampire Savior. I'll throw in MVC Fighter, Ultimate Marvel 3, Street Fighter Alpha 2. This feels like it's missing some. Start going through here and I'll start picking them out. There's Alpha 2. CVS 2 is on here. Jesus Christ. I need Super Turbo. Just with my own basic consideration of Capcom fighting games, the ones that I would put up there just in general to begin this list: Alpha 2, Street Fighter 6, Third Strike, Ultra or Street Fighter 4, MVCI, Ultimate Marvel 3, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, Marvel vs. Capcom 1, Capcom vs. SNK 2, Darkstalkers, Vampire Savior, X-Men VSF, Street Fighter EX or EX2 Plus, and the Street Fighter 2 series. That feels about right. I don't think I would put a Power Stone. If I would add one up here, while I like Rival Schools and Project Justice, obviously, I've never like been super in love with them. I like them, you know? But I have to turn this into a top 10. We got to turn this from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 games. I got to bring it down. So what is the number 10th game on this list? Let's bring this down to an actual top 10. Alpha 2 should stay. Third Strike should stay. Should Street Fighter 4 stay? That's a question. I think Street Fighter 6 should stay. I think the EX game is going to have to go, and Power Stone is going to have to go. And I'm going to say X-Men versus Street Fighter is probably gonna have to go. I'm thinking I know my number 10, but I'm also knowing which one I want to take off of here. And I'm thinking it's going to be Ultra Street Fighter 4. I think I'm gonna take it off. All right, so that leaves us with a 10. We have 10 games now. This is my list. I'm removing Ultra Street Fighter 4 because I have several other Street Fighter games up here that I would prefer to be up here. Let's find number 10, and I'm gonna be real, it just hit me. Number 10 is MVCI. And MVCI, there's a good reason why. It's got a couple of my favorite versions of characters in there. MVCI is a legit game that really gave me mind expansion of like how a versus game could be. Instead of being a sequel to Marvel 3, it was more of a sequel to MVC 1, which was very disappointing for a lot of people. But obviously, like, MVCI is a game that I can always have fun with because its tag system, I think, is brilliant. It needed more refinement, and we tried to do that with our version of the game. But still, I deeply enjoy it. Deeply have like a great time with it, but it's also a grossly flawed game. I love MVCI because of the options it provides, but I do not love its roster, and I do not love its visuals or its story mode. What game goes after that, though? After MVCI, this is friggin' tough. I'm gonna start throwing out some options up here of where the next game or two could be, just in this general space. These three are what I'm thinking right now. I would say of all of these three, Vampire Savior would go at number 9. Obviously a deeply inspirational game, but I think it takes number 9 of a game that's always fun, always enjoyable, wonderful characters, is the epitome of Darkstalkers. What else do we need to say, dude? It's Vampire Savior, but it's extremely niche. You know, it's a game that is pretty much for fighting game nerds. Like, this is pretty much people that are diehard old head Capcom fans. And yeah, I've always found it appealing. It's always been a super easy game to jump into from a low level, and then watching it at high level is insanely impressive. So yeah, I love Darkstalkers. After that, I would probably put Capcom versus SNK 2 at number 8. And we just played a bunch of CVS 2. It's wonderful. It is effectively Street Fighter 4 before Street Fighter 4, but it's a Capcom vs. SNK game. I'm like, well, realistically, like, once Street Fighter 3 Third Strike wasn't really a Street Fighter game to a lot of Street Fighter fans, if you wanted a true Street Fighter experience, it was pretty much CVS 2 for the longest time. Obviously, I like CVS 2 a lot. I've put a lot of time into the game in the past. It's fun that it's out now to sort of like show all that cool shit off that's in the game, but it doesn't beat out Marvel 1. And Marvel 1 1 goes to number 7. The problem with Marvel 1 is that in terms of like content and what it is, I just love it, man. I just think it's neat. I just love the way Marvel 1 looks. I think its utilization of characters, like a 16-ish character roster, with what they did is so good. Like, they chose the perfect characters for such a small roster. The way the game utilized assists was also fun, but also not like lame in some way. Dude, it's MVC 1. To me, it's like the best looking of all the Marvel vs. Capcom games. It was one of the first like big competitive games I really got into. The reason I learned how to play an arcade stick. So, you know, to me, MVC 1's got to go kind of high, but I agree. There's not much game to that game. More of like a cool concept of what Marvel vs. Capcom could be until you get to the actual glorious execution of what MVC could really be. After that, though, and you know what? I've changed my mind. Oh, shit, bro. My brain is fucking melting. I think I've come to a conclusion. Street Fighter Alpha 2 is at number 7. For all the same reasons I talked about MVC 1, Alpha 2 is right there. But I personally like Versus Series games more, so it goes a bit higher. But like presentation and everything in Alpha 2 is just friggin' god tier. I love it, man. Everything about the way Alpha 2 looks and it sounds and it plays, it just feels so good. For a non-dashing Street Fighter, it's my favorite one. If we're gonna play an old Street Fighter game that is like not dashing, I end up liking this one probably the most overall. So that being said, right above it goes Street Fighter 6. I gotta look at this list, bro. It might change. So yeah, Street Fighter 6, it's great. It's fun. It's currently still being updated. It's going through shit. It's good, man. It's got a bunch of new fun characters. I'm still waiting on characters in it, but it's like, its systems are pretty engaging and they've really thought about it. They need to be refined, obviously. Yeah, Street Fighter 6 goes on 6. I don't know what to tell you. It also completely opened up the way people play fighting games and shit. But here's the problem. Marvel 1 to me is like fucking goated, bro. This game deeply inspired me, has a huge influence on my life. So it's crazy to me that I was about to put Alpha 2 above MVC 1. This mid-tier section is kind of tough for me, but I'm gonna start hovering some of the games around here and we'll see if we can maybe start switching some stuff around. But I don't think I will. I think I'm feeling fairly confident. You know, MVC 1 is my lucky horse race pick, you know? This one I'm trying to get as far as possible, but I know I cannot put it in like a top 5 situation. Number 4 is Marvel 2. And there's a reason. And as I have revisited the thought process in my head, the more juvenile battle between these games has always put Marvel vs. Capcom 1 over Marvel vs. Capcom 2. But I think as time has gone on, I deeply respect MVC 2 because this is the game, I said this just before, this is the game we are still playing to this day. And no, I don't mean Marvel 2 just came out. Yeah, we're actually playing it to this day. Like, no, dude, all team-based fighting games are pretty much Marvel vs. Capcom 2 still. We just had this big ass conversation where it's like, yeah, MVC 2 is that game that was so deeply inspirational when you first saw it, so impossible to comprehend, so unimaginably insane. How do you make any of that shit work? Bro, they did it. They made it work. It became the new standard, you know? And not to mention the game is fun as shit. The amount of actual discoverability and things that are in here are still being found. Dudes are still posting crazy shit that no one's ever really like figured out before because now you can with this new shit. MVC 2 like means a lot to me. It means a lot to like fighting games in general. It's like the absolute impossibility that they made possible. Design miracle that they turned this shit and made it actually work. We have 3 games left. Third strike, Ultimate Marvel 3, Street Fighter 2. Where does my top 3 go? What is the third top fighting game in this list? Street Fighter 2. Street Fighter 2 is at number 3 because obviously number 1 is what we think it is. Obviously you guys know me. We know what number 1 is. Yeah, Street Fighter 2 I lived it, man. Like, I don't look back at this game not knowing what it was like when it happened. It's like me talking to my mom when we fucking landed on the moon and shit. It's like, well, I wasn't there for that. So like, obviously was impactful and crazy, but like, I lived that shit. This was one of the defining events in the past like 40 years of like video games. Street Fighter 2 was a monumental defining event. You think like Elden Ring is a big thing? Bro, no, dude. Street Fighter 2 was so big. It was such a big deal. We don't need to talk about Street Fighter 2. We know everything that can be said. And the second best Capcom fighting game of all time is Ultimate Marvel 3. It just is, man. I have gone through such a crazy, like, kinetic relationship with this game to, like, love it, I hate it. I love it, I hate it. And that's because of its funky ass online over the years. Realistically, once I got the ability to actually start playing more Marvel 3 without the compromise of funky really bad net play that had a substantial effect on the way I felt about the game and X Factor and all that shit. UMVC 3 is something fucking special. What that game not just did for me personally as a game series impact on my career, but just as the game has grown over time, the older it gets, the more I value it. The older it gets, the more I go back and reference it to realize how amazing it is. And I don't even think it's by design. I think most of the things that were great about Marvel vs. Capcom 3 and Marvel vs. Capcom 2, they no shit sort of stumbled into. All of a sudden, it became a realization that, damn, bro, actually, this shit is really friggin' amazing. Would it have been potentially better with some patches and stuff like that? Absolutely. I think things could have evened the playing field and made things a little bit better. Fans are still literally doing that right now. But yeah, Ultimate Marvel 3 is like a lightning in a bottle situation, you know? It's the true evolution of what Marvel vs. Capcom 2 was conceptually, but, you know, it is still a sequel to Marvel vs. Capcom 2. It's a better Marvel vs. Capcom 2. And then, who would have known that Third Strike would have been Max's #1 Capcom fighting game, much less is my #1 fighting game of all time, period. I think I was pretty happy when I was coming up with this list. I don't need to glaze Third Strike, dude. Like, come the hell on. Yeah, this pretty much lines up with how I personally feel. If we had to ignore the top 10 list of Capcom fighting games that my friends made, and again, how different was this? Let's just go take a look. When I had to delegate and, you know, get my
design
thoughts
specifically
into action, Street Fighter 2 is right there. Third Strike is right there. Marvel 3 got snubbed. MVC 2 is up there. MVC 2 landed on the exact same spot, even though this is a general Capcom list. CVS 2 at #6 and MVC 1 a bit higher. I do not want to make a list of top 10 Capcom games where fighting games are on there. To be completely honest, hate doing that. I usually do not like putting fighting games next to regular video games because I think of them differently. That being said, there might be space, if people give a shit, for me to look at the top Capcom games and make a list on that. A detailed list on what I think are like the top 10 Capcom games that maybe don't include fighting games.